What if the war between the United States and Iran is no longer confined to land? What if the battlefield has now moved hundreds of kilometers into the open ocean? Because according to Iran's Revolutionary Guard, an American warship has just been struck in the Indian Ocean, but the Pentagon says that never happened. So what is the truth? Tonight, we break down the dramatic claims, the denials, and the growing naval confrontation that could reshape the entire Middle East conflict. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, has announced what it calls a major strike against the United States Navy. According to Iranian state media, ballistic and cruise missiles were fired at an American destroyer while it was refueling from a tanker ship in the Indian Ocean. Iran claims the attack used two major missile systems: the Ghadr-380 ballistic missile, capable of traveling up to 2,000 kilometers, and the TEAA strategic cruise missile, with a range of 1,000 kilometers. The IRGC says the strike caused massive fires aboard both vessels, even though the ships were reportedly more than 600 kilometers away from Iran's coastline. The attack, Tehran says, was part of a large-scale military campaign called Operation True Promise 4, a retaliation, they claim, for American and Israeli strikes against Iran. But Washington is telling a completely different story. The United States Central Command, or CENTCOM, quickly dismissed the claim, calling it completely false. According to the Pentagon, no American destroyer has been hit, and the U.S. Navy remains fully operational in the region. However, the sea battle itself appears to be escalating. CENTCOM says American forces carried out direct strikes against Iranian naval assets in the Gulf of Oman. In a blunt statement, U.S. officials declared Iran had 11 ships in the Gulf of Oman today. Now it has 0. If confirmed, this would mark one of the largest naval confrontations between the two countries in years. Meanwhile, Iran is expanding the conflict across one of the world's most critical shipping routes, the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian forces claim they have struck more than 10 oil tankers after issuing a warning that ships must not pass through the strait. The IRGC says the waterway is now a war zone under Iranian control, and that claim alone has sent shockwaves through global energy markets, because nearly 20% of the world's oil supply passes through that narrow stretch of water. At the same time, the war is spreading far beyond Iran's borders. Iranian commanders say they launched 230 drones in multiple coordinated operations. Targets reportedly included U.S. military bases in Saudi Arabia, American facilities in Kuwait, and locations in northern Iraq. In Bahrain, reports say a drone strike targeted the Crown Plaza Manama area, where American defense personnel were present. If confirmed, it would mean U.S. personnel were directly targeted outside traditional military bases. As missiles and drones continue to fly, Iran's leadership is sending an unmistakable message. Ali Larijani, head of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, warned the United States that Iran is prepared for a long and punishing war. In a fiery statement directed at President Donald Trump, Larijani accused Washington of dragging the region into chaos. He said Iran has prepared itself for a long war, and he dismissed any suggestion of diplomacy. Posting a blunt warning, "We will not negotiate with the United States. This war is no longer confined to a single battlefield. It now stretches across Iran, Israel, Iraq, the Persian Gulf, the Indian Ocean, and even key global shipping routes. Since the opening wave of U.S. and Israeli strikes, which reportedly killed Iran's supreme leader and several senior commanders, the conflict has exploded across multiple fronts. More than 2,000 targets inside Iran have reportedly been hit, and Iran has responded with waves of ballistic missiles and drones across the region. So where does this leave the world now? A naval confrontation in the open ocean, drone strikes across multiple countries, threats to global oil supply, and two powerful nations warning they are ready for a long war. The question now is no longer whether the conflict will grow. The question is how far it will spread. If you want real-time updates on this rapidly unfolding conflict, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for the next update.